Hello, everyone. I think we are going to get started. I am sorry to interrupt conversation because I know that it's so nice to be in fellowship with each other and see so many of our friends tonight, but to also respect the end of your evening because you're going to get to see an amazing movie and you're going to get to hear an amazing discussion. We're going to go ahead and get started. Hi, my name is Misty Thomas. I'm the proud executive director of the Council for Court Excellence, hosting tonight's event. As many of you know, but maybe not all, CCE is an organization here in the district focused on making our justice system more equitable for all. And I'm really glad that all of you brought your beautiful selves out to this screening and discussion. It's close to our hearts and organization, and you'll hear and know why as we go on. But I have the very brief pleasure to introduce one of our amazing board leaders, Deborah Balat. She's a partner at the law firm of Jones Day. She is the secretary of our board of directors, one of our critical leaders, and she is the co-chair of CCE's Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Justice Committee. And it is such an honor to let her come up and kick off the event, tell you a bit more about our partners in this evening. So, Deborah.
I feel like you tricked me by putting me down here with that step, and it's a miracle that I didn't fall. Thank you, Misty, for that introduction, and thank you to everyone for being here with us tonight for such an exciting event. I am a proud member of CCE's Board of Directors, and for the past few years have also served on CCE's Executive Committee, and with my colleague, David Cinnamon, who is somewhere up there, co-chair our Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Justice Committee. Our committee's work recently has been focused on embedding DEIJ principles more firmly in the work that CCE does, both internally and externally. Part of that work includes providing educational events like this to the community and to CCE's board. We are proud and excited to co-host this screening of the District of Second Chances. As many of you know, April is Second Chance Hiring Month, and CCE has been committed to making DC's justice systems fairer and more equitable for more than 4 decades now. And that includes expanding opportunities for our neighbors with criminal records and those coming out of incarceration. We have done an extensive amount of work on reentry policy over the past several years, and most recently launched the Second Chance Hiring Alliance in 2023. The Second Chance Hiring Alliance, or SCHA, is a coalition of DC area employers and employment support providers working together to create more employment opportunities for justice-impacted job seekers. SCHA educates employers on the benefits of second chance hiring, hosts events like this to bring people together, and centers the voices of people with lived experiences in its materials, outreach, and activities. If you would like to support our work and learn more about what we do, please visit our website at courtexcellence.org or the SCHA website at scha-dc.org. Now, before we turn to watching the film, we want to thank several people and organizations who helped make tonight's event possible. First, a special thank you to our event's co-sponsors, the Greater Washington, D.C. Black Chamber of Commerce, Free Minds Book Club, and our board member, Ron Abramson, who helped connect us with the NYU Washington, D.C. and this wonderful space. We also want to thank FAM, Families for Justice Reform, which produced the documentary. And special thank yous also go out to the SCHA core group members with us tonight, including DC Central Kitchen, who provided the excellent catering for the event, Link Strategic Partners, the Court Services and Offender Supervision Agency, Georgetown, we'll clap at the end. Georgetown Pivot Program, the Department of Employment Services, and James Carpenter of Neighbors for Justice. So if you could please stand and be acknowledged, and we will clap for all of you together. These fantastic partners are working with us to ensure that second chances are real and accessible to folks coming back into the community. So with that, we will turn to the highlight of our evening, watching the documentary District of Second Chances. The film highlights the experiences of 3 men who were sentenced in their youth to life in prison, but who have since been released. After the screening, we will be joined by the stars of the film, as well as a business owner who is a second chance employer and returning citizen himself, Mr. Paul Weinstock. So please stay with us after the screening to hear from these excellent panelists. Thank you so much. Let's hear one more round of applause for our stars. That was so incredibly powerful and moving. Thank you all for sharing your story and for being with us here today. It is my pleasure to introduce our moderator and our panel. First, our moderator, Aisha Bond, who is the president of the Greater Washington, D.C. Black Chamber of Commerce. She has been in that role since May 2022, serving as a driving force in advancing economic equity and racially inclusive economic growth in the Washington, D.C. area. Previously, Aisha led North Capitol Main Street, a nonprofit organization focused on small and local business development. Welcome, Aisha. For our first movie star, Mr. Gene Downing, he serves as CCE's own Galena Yorktown Fellow. Gene has been with CCE since late 2022. He co-leads the Second Chance Hiring Alliance, as well as helping to facilitate community events and outreach. Gene also serves as the co-chair of the Thrive Under 25 Coalition, which uses advocacy legislation and public education to change the way DC's criminal justice system treats those under the age of 25. So welcome, Gene. Come on down. Next, we have Anthony Pete Petty. I don't know that we can ever be friends if you do 500 burpees for fun on your birthday. Pete, as you heard, is a credible messenger at the Department of Youth Rehabilitation Services and a core team member of Neighbors for Justice, a local organization founded in 2020 to support individuals who are incarcerated at the DC jail. Mr. Petty is also a mentor of youth, safe passage employee, and a revered pillar in the DC community. Next, we have Colie Levar Long. We can be friends because coffee is only meant to be drank hot. He is a program associate for the Georgetown University Prisons and Justice Initiative, coordinator with More Than Our Crimes, and FAM's Justice Reform Fellow. Mr. Long also mentors youth on the YME unit at DC Jail, advocates for prison reform in DC, and is currently working on a program to assist children with incarcerated parents. And finally, we want to welcome Mr. Paul Weinstock up to the stage. Mr. Weinstock is a native Washingtonian who runs his own janitorial cleaning business and serves as a second chance employer. He established a nonprofit organization called Saving Our Generation, which is a mentoring program devoted to helping youth and adults cultivate their dreams. Mr. Weinstock not only serves as a second chance employer, but was also previously incarcerated himself and brings his lived experience to bear in his business and community service work. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Aisha. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can everybody hear me okay? Well, it is a tremendous pleasure to be here this evening. I was looking forward to this for quite some time, and it is living up to all the expectations. The movie was fantastic. Thank you guys for having me here. I'll simply start maybe by asking you all, clearly we saw through the movie, but in your own words, just take an opportunity to tell me what it's been like and share with us what it's been like to experience being a recipient of IRA.
Yeah, for me, again, I think I probably used the word surreal probably 1,000 times in the film. I think because that was, the word that was apropos. Even today, it still feels surreal that I was serving a 80-year to life prison sentence. And then to me, miraculously, IRA appeared, right? Not even the Second Amendment Act version, but the initial version. To me, it was miraculous. And so to see them amended and re-amended to fit me, right? It was just a moment that I felt like, maybe this was the time that all of the work that I put in would come to fruition. Those letters that I was getting from my sister that says God is in control, she had no idea what Ira was, but to me it was like she was putting that in motion as well. And the funny story about the Ira hearing that they showed, and how this to me seems as if it comes full circle because my judge is also a board member of CCE.
Yeah.
And
That's right.
I mean, she and I have, we created a great relationship. I actually would count her among my friends. And so I think had Ira not happened, A, I wouldn't be here. But two, I wouldn't, or B, C, however,
Right, whichever one.
I wouldn't have met a lot of the extraordinary people that I have met today. But most importantly, I wouldn't have met my judge. And so it affected my life in so many different ways. And obviously the most important way is that I'm here sitting with you today.
Yeah.
Thank you first and foremost. Thank you for allowing me to be here. The most important thing I would say Ira has done, I would say for me, it's been a, I ain't gonna say element, it's been a spurs, but it's been a lot of fun just being here, getting to do things. And I know for me, a lot of times, I could just be doing one of the simplest things, like walking to the store, and I'd be like, man, if it weren't for Ira, I wouldn't be doing this. And I know just my history from just being incarcerated. I would have went to see the parole board, but I would have never made it from the parole board, so I always think about that. But every day when I heard about someone, trying to push back on Ira, trying to correlate Ira like they did last night, Ira with the crimes that's going on in the city, as a person who worked for the city and worked with these same young people in these same communities, that's when I really started having a problem. So I would say like my life within the last 2 years has been more up and down, but I'm always proud and happy to be an Ira recipient.
I like you bringing that distinction up as well, because we do have to continue to support it. Colie?
Thank you for having me here as well. I think the greatest benefit I received with the Ira Second Act is allow me the opportunity to feel my responsibilities to my community, to my family. Be an advocate for people that reform and change, and remind people that we are still relevant, still worthy of human dignities. And it gave me a platform to kind of like be in a position I can help change the narrative that people have formulated about people who are incarcerated and formerly incarcerated. And it comes, my freedom, all our freedoms come with great responsibility. We're not just joy and happy to be here, like you say, every day we wake up with the things we done did. We don't let that shadow our future though, but also, give us a platform we can amplify the voices of people that have been silent through carceral spaces.
Thank you. And Paul, we didn't get the pleasure of finding out a little bit about your background. If you care to share, just giving some insight into your experience maybe, and also sharing your views.
I have the same similar that my good brothers had. First, I want to thank everybody for inviting me. I had 2 life sentences in the federal system, and I was away for 23 years. First time offender, drug offense. My case revolved with approximately 36 co-defendants, and it was damaging. It was very hurtful. My dad was put on the case, and one of the reasons that he was put on the case because they really wanted me to cooperate because I had a high-level drug case in D.C. However, I stood, strong. My dad stood strong. We ended up had 3 conspiracies. I was charged with a super kingpin statute, which carried death row. And we beat the 3 conspiracies. I beat the super kingpin statute, and I still ended up with 2 life sentences in the federal system. And it was hard for me to understand as a first-time offender with no violence to be sentenced to that kind of sentence, which was harsh and was hard on my mom as well, and my dad and my family. I had a son. When I went away, my son was 2 years old. When I came home, my son was 25. So I lost my dad in 2005 to gun violence. He took in a young man to be a surrogate father to this young man. He took him to a wake and funeral, and they went to the repast. After the repast was over, it was my dad, young man's cousin, which she was a female. She was pregnant, and another young man in the car. And as my father was taking off, when the young man got back in the car, the young man pulled out a weapon and discharged it. And it hit my dad in the shoulder, hit the artery, and killed him. And hit his cousin and killed her and the baby. So, this was in 2005 when all this happened. I was incarcerated. And the system, it can be good and it can be bad. I was in a camp, and this is why I'm saying about the bad part of it. I was in a camp at the time, and I had a job that I left off the institution to go clean the workout facility where the staff went at and where they had the parties at. So if they allowed me to go there, why not allow me to visit my dad for my last time ever getting to see my dad in a casket? So the system sometimes is somewhat unfair, but we make a choice and decision, and we get put in those decisions in those situations from our choice and decision. But a lot of times, they don't look at us as human beings. You follow me? It's like a horse with blinders on, they see straight, and they treat everybody the same. But, we go into those type of situations, and we change. A lot of us change. A lot of us look better ways to make ourselves better, but not just us, but others. Like during my 23 years, I actually saved the officer's life. I saved the inmate's life. I was a GED math teacher as prepping them for the GED math course. So I did a lot of things then. I even did outside correspondence courses. So those things should be taken in consideration and evaluated when we go up, which I didn't have to go up for the board because I was charged. My charge came out of Maryland, which I was a DC resident, which we never understood that as well. But they had me at 101 Lombard Street, which was in Baltimore, and it was a learning experience for me. It actually gave me the opportunity to change my way and my choices and decisions. And with that being said, I think that the time that they gave me wasn't right, but it gave me time to change and make me a better person.
Let's talk a little bit more about the reform. Each of you has engaged since your release reform in some way, shape, or form, and to large part really focusing on the ability of a returning citizen to really be financially impactful in their own life and build a life for themselves and for their family. So you would think that, looking at your story, it almost seemed like a given that you would go into reform because you guys did it so effortlessly and so with such tireless commitment. But I'm sure that had to be a concentrated effort and one that you take very seriously. So I'll open it up to anybody who wants to respond. But just talking about the decision to really, since your release, continue to commit yourself to this work.
Well, I guess I'll start it over. So with that being said, before I came home, I made up my mind that actually I was going to be part of the solution and not part of the problem when I came home. So I dedicated myself to actually open up a nonprofit and be one of the best of giving back to our community and wouldn't be part of providing the negative that I had at that time. And I think that it was very important that I took out the time to focus and make a better person within myself and learn myself first. Because a lot of times what we have to do is learn ourselves first to be able to make that change. And then when I came home, they had this initiative, which was the Credible Messenger. And Director Clint Lacey, which he was the director of the Department of Youth Rehabilitation Services at the time, that was an initiative that was originally from New York. But he came here with that model, and they were looking for an individual that had a high-profile drug case to help push this to get more individuals involved. Because at one time, when we was on that other side, we didn't want to be involved with law enforcement. You know, it was us against them. But once you made that change and turned that corner and you wanted to better yourself and better that community, you say, hey, whatever it takes to get this community and get myself in accordance, that's what I wanted to do. So we ended up and got a group of guys also that wanted to be on that positive message and work with these youth today. And that's how the Credible Messenger was actually established at that time. So.
I think reform and reentry starts while you're incarcerated. You know, that's where it starts. And I think the greatest mistake that the criminal justice system did was locking me up. Because it gave me a space. I don't believe in rehabilitation. Prison does not rehabilitate people. You know, a lot of us were prisoners before we entered prison in the first place, wholeheartedly. It allowed me a space for healing, you know, and discovery of who I am, and unlearn the things society taught me to be. And so I'm grateful for that space. Like I said, I'm not abolitionist. I'm glad that I'm tremendously regretful for the act that I've done. I'm grateful that God spared me and allowed me to come to prison. And I teach that way of thinking to a lot of the mentees. Because every time we sit in that circle, I remind them that everyone in that circle is a Nelson Mandela. Everyone in the circle is a Malcolm X. Everyone in the circle is a Martin Luther King. You know what I'm saying? Just actualize your potential, because so many of these people, so many of these young men, you know, like I said, we are products of intergenerational trauma, intergenerational incarceration. You know what I'm saying? From our culture, our music, the clothes, everything is designed to keep us in this box of being, you know, consumers of a culture that they dictate who you be. Your aspirations to be a basketball player or entertainer, but never to be an engineer or an architect, somebody that contributes them. And I found that, you know, that self-affirming belief in that carceral space. So I empower the people that be around to transfer, just like I say, education transform you, transform that cell into a classroom. And once you do come out, the sky's the limit.
Can we talk about that a little bit more too? Because I want to hear from you guys what opportunities do exist when you are incarcerated to begin to, you know, structure that mindset, build yourself, grow yourself, but also where are the gaps? Where are there still some omissions? What are the things that we haven't gotten right yet as a culture and a society that you would like to see start to take place for prisoners while they're actually incarcerated, to prepare them not just for a life outside of prison, but to be financially stable, to be, you know, able to really contribute wholly back to community?
I know for me, one of the most important things for my whole incarceration was music. I hate to say it, but music, and I was always in trouble. I was always in trouble. I had more. People think I had a Napoleon complex. No, I just had a good temper. I didn't have a Napoleon complex, and I did sometimes take offense because guys was always bigger than me. So a lot of times I was like in the hole. So a lot of my whole incarceration, I stayed locked down. But one of the things that it did was it showed me how much I love books and music, and then by me reading so many books, it kind of like opened my mind to the possibility of what I can do. So when I came to that point in like 2015, where though I knew like I didn't want to become that person for the rest of my life, I knew I wanted to change just by being around. And they already know it's a song by one of my Casey Musgrave called Cup of Tea. And the song she speaks about, man, you can be whatever you want to be, you know what I'm saying? Everybody is different, everybody likes something different. And I think that's the most important thing that really helps with your transformation is when you start getting a better understanding of who you are as a person, then it becomes easier. But far as programs and things of that nature, it's really no programs, and it's so biased when it comes to program. Considering like guys from our area, DC, I have a friend right now who's supposed to go for his Iron within like the next 2 months, they started a new, it's called a threshold, which is like a common behavior program. And he told me, like, listen, man, all of us signed up because we all know we got an hour or second look coming. He said, man, they told all, we got to wait for the next 3 years because we got life on the back of our numbers. So those are some of the things, so I always believe in basically educating myself.
I'm gonna try to squeeze a little bit of the other question into.
Please.
A wise man once said, if you don't like your conditions, do something to change them. In prison, we are under the harshest conditions you can imagine. I felt like the only thing I can do to change my conditions is to change myself, change my mentality. So I started to do that. I mean, as you saw in the film, I got my GED and I started to teach GED classes. I think that one thing from getting a GED to start teaching it was like what opened the floodgates for me. Colie alluded to education being like the most important thing. That was when I realized that. Once I got my GED and then started to teach other people how to read, teach other people how to write, teach other people how to count, it showed me that not only do I have a purpose and I can change myself, but I'm a part of changing other people in this institution, which is in turn changing the conditions in the institution. So I stuck to that, and I made sure though that if I'm gonna be a teacher, you better know what you know. So I educated myself. Sometimes learned stuff that I probably would never even, apply out here, but it's still education and information nonetheless. And as far as the gaps and the things that may be omitted, Pete, you just talked about it. Being from DC in the federal prison, we are automatically in a unique situation because we are under federal jurisdiction when it suits them. And we're under Washington DC local jurisdiction any other time.
Yeah, whenever they feel like.
Right? And so a lot of opportunities, programs, and things of that nature, education opportunities, aren't available for us because we have a life sentence on the back, which is an indeterminate sentence. So in DC, the judge may say, we're giving you 30 years to life with a mandatory minimum of 30 years, and then it works a certain way. But once you step foot into a federal institution, they turn a blind eye to the 30-year part. All they see is life, and now you fall under a certain category and you can't apply for certain programs. And most of these programs are pre-release programs. And so when our comes about, we all, especially myself, jumped right into pre-release mode. Like, oh, I'm about to go home. Let me start doing the things that I knew I couldn't do, but they still was like, nah, you can't sign up for this. So in turn, you had to learn these things on your own.
Post-release.
No.
Oh, I see.
While
Still
still
in your
incarcerated, the classes I wanted to take, I can't take the class. I can take the book. I can take the book. And so I took the books and I self-studied. So it was like, screw your programs. I'm the program. But also, it was the younger people who were incarcerated. As I got older, I became a old head, right, uncle, whatever. And so now I felt like it was my duty to school them, show them the ropes, show them the what to do, the what not to do. And I'm going to show them the most of the things to lead them in a positive way because I want them to follow the way I'm going, right? And because of all of these things, it gave me another epiphany. I'm like, oh, I'm already doing advocacy. And there we advocating for different things. We want better conditions in prison, right? I'm already doing a lot of the work that we're doing out here, mentoring and all these things only in there. So I felt like, if I can do this in here, while these guys are already in here, especially looking at some of the younger guys who Now they are the 19, 20, 21-year-old guys coming in. I'm saying, if I can go home, I can do this out there, and that can probably stop some of these 19, 20, 21-year-old guys coming in. Get to the root of the problem, and then you can have a better chance of solving it. And so that was the mindset that I had in there, and I didn't mind the gaps. I used the gaps as a challenge to better educate myself. Oh, I can't do this, I'll show you. Oh, I can't go to this program, I'll show you. And so that's how I looked at everything that was meant to be a challenge. I took it as an opportunity to show you how great I can actually be. So that was my action.
I love that. Well, if anybody is wondering why somebody from the Greater Washington, D.C. Black Chamber has been part of this conversation, it's because we really were thinking a lot, and I met many of you all in the context of thinking about returning citizens, obviously encouraging them to be involved in entrepreneurship and enterprise, but also thinking about, businesses that have opportunity to grow and hire, and returning citizens being a great population of people to be considered for, that first, second, third hire, whatever it might be. So I wanted to turn the conversation to thinking about employment, things that were an obstacle for you, that maybe on the outside we don't think about when we're considering hiring opportunities for returning citizens. So we heard about a few technical, challenges or, new things, new experiences, new challenges to learn and to get over once you are reintroduced into, society, also work. Can you shed some light on some of that when you were looking for that first job, or some of the hurdles that you guys experienced that maybe employers are not conscious of when they're engaging returning citizens in, that orientation process? What would make you all unique from another new hire, let's say?
Well, the first thing I would say that would make anyone, especially if you've served multiple decades in prison, unique in terms of entering the workforce at any level, is that your experience is different in terms of expectations, right? Most of us worked in prison, right? I don't think any of us who worked in prison earned more than $1 an hour. Mm-hmm. And that was the top. Now, you worked in Unicorn, grade 1, all that. If you was making more than $1 an hour. So myself, I made maybe 67 cents at the most an hour. So walking into an establishment as a free man applying for a job, yes, I know that I have criminal background, I know that I have felonies on my record, but at the same time, I know that I would pretty much do anything in terms of employment, because if you, I can't pay you much, I can only probably offer you $16 an hour. Now, I might, sit stoically because I've done my research, and I'm like, $16 an hour. But in real life, I'm like, I was just making 30 cents, like $16 an hour, where do I sign up? Yeah. And I say that to say, we bring not only experience from having to work and be undervalued, so now we feel we're being valued, but we need these jobs. And we want to show society that we are access to the community. So if you hire me, I'm going to bust my butt to prove to you that not just myself deserve these positions, but it's 1,000 people like me that's coming behind me. So if I'm in the door, I don't want to shut it. I must stand in it and hold it open to say, come on, guys. And so these are some of the challenges, though, is that it's really not the obvious ones. We all know the obvious ones. Like somebody can review your record, do a background check. But it's the individuals. We bring our unique selves to the table because I'll give you an example. You might have a guy who's gone to school and became an electrician. He knows everything up here, but he hasn't gotten the job yet. Like, he went to school for electricity to become an electrician, but he hasn't been hired yet. So you still don't have the experience of doing a lot of things in real time. Mm-hmm. In prison, you can also go to school and become an electrician. But guess what? You can also be an electrician in the institution, and you done fix that, this, the TVs go out, you are the designated electrician in the institution. So now once you go home, and you may find yourself sitting in the same interviewing room with the guy who has all the credentials on paper. but no real experience. But yet me, I got burn marks from the shooting and all kinds of stuff. I know exactly what this means, that means, and I can't explain it like, academically, right? But I can get the job done. And I think that is another unique thing, that we don't just hold ourselves or just be relegated to, what certification you have. Some of us actually just have the experience from being incarcerated and doing a lot of the things because we had to, not because, we just went to school for.
So I'm gonna speak from, my perspective. I knew when I was in that it would be hard for me to be able to gain employment when I came out. So what I did was I took some classes, outside correspondence classes, where I could get some certification. And one of the certifications that I did get was actually industrial housekeeping. And that allowed me to come home with a plan. And then I also opened up my nonprofit organization when I came out, because one was that I wanted to give back to the community, but the other one was I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So right now, today, I still use those tools and that focus, and I would want to give the mayor and the council members that have gave me opportunities to actually be where I'm at today and help me through the way. So with that being said, I'm a general contractor. My company is Wine Stocking LLC. I've been able to hire multiple people from LGBTQ population to returning citizens to at-risk youth. I run most of the summer youth employment programs. I own a restaurant called His and Hers. I own event planning space, and I do a lot. I have contracts with most of the agencies, which is a cluster through the mayor's office, just to name a few: the Department of Employment Services, Department of Small Local Business Development, which I run like 9 of the clean teams, which I have approximately 73 employees. Also, I contract with Department of Youth Rehabilitation Services, where I go in and I actually teach a curriculum with the youth inside of there as well. So I've been fortunate enough and been blessed to actually stay focused and continue my grind from my past lifestyle of wrongdoings to apply it in the right perspective, and been able to use all of my knowledge and pass it on to others and position myself in a position with the political people that I need to be in position with, and some celebrities, and been able to do the right thing. So that's where my drive and my focus is, and we got to learn how to come together and work together. A lot of us, want 100% of nothing instead of 10% of something, and it's sad that we can't come together. And this is our country. I use a conversation when I go and speak sometimes. When you go to Home Depot, guess what you see before you get into the Home Depot? Anybody want to answer that? Okay, so you see that. So we got to want it just like they want it. You follow me? And once we can work together and get a goal and a plan, we can win in whatever we do. We just got to go get it.
But Paul, tell me from an employer standpoint, what do employers need to know when they're hiring a returning citizen, or either of you gentlemen? Yeah,
I wanted to say something. You said something about the gaps. One of the things I felt as though with like a lot of guys, like say a lot of our guys, you got to remember, a lot of us went into the 90s and the early, before we ever got a chance to really touch a computer. So we don't have the technology skills, things of that nature.
Right.
One of the most important things, and Jane talked about it a little bit, we could have all the hard skills we need. We don't have the workforce. When I say the workforce skills, I mean the soft skills, whereas though we know how to react to certain conversations and our tendencies to talk with our hands, our conversation can lean a little more, seem aggressive in the workforce. Those are some of the things that I feel as though like we really need training with. And I say that just from like past experience, because people always tell me like, hey man, you kind of looking real like menacing. I'm like, why I'm looking menacing? Because But when you look at the way that we are staying, I'm staying this way because I've been staying this way for the last 20 years due to the environment that I was coming from. So I think a lot of times when we go into businesses, start working, and I done seen it happen a lot of times. A lot of people lose their job just by the way that they may speak to their coworker or their boss, just because this how you always spoke to another person where you just coming from. So I think those are some of the things that trainers that we really need, and some of the things that you can really help a lot of guys overcome some of the stuff that they be going through out here when it comes into the workforce.
Yeah, and also I think that I'm going to use my organization. We focus on training. You follow me? We focus on mental health. We try to provide a wraparound service, even healthy foods. I do that on Saturdays. Also, with a lot of the training, we got to have patience with the people that we dealing with, especially the one that's coming out of prison, because it's just that we in a box and we don't get the privileges to be out in society because we limited. And a lot of times what happens is we go into these job interviews and we not prepared. And what I try to teach our people is, listen, when you go in there, you switch this around and you start asking that individual the questions. Because a lot of times what happens is we go in there and we be quiet and we afraid to talk, especially us as Black men. And we don't really know how to express ourselves. So we need programs where we can actually sit down together and build and learn a lot of things that's needed. We need a strong woman in our corners. If you see in here, we got a lot of strong ladies in here that's actually deserve their flowers and their acknowledgement. But we need more of you all to grab some of our hands. It's just like a newborn baby when a guy come out of prison. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. And sometimes, we'll put a lot of pressure on ourselves because we're trying to catch up or we're trying to do certain things that, society done changed. Just like when he was coming home and he was on A Street. I went through the same thing. When I came out, I was like, man, the hell am I at? What is all this? Everything has changed. Time don't wait for nobody. Just like that second hand on the clock. That thing just keep going. But with that being said, we need more programs. I do get a lot into, with the policy and how they're taking a lot of funding, like from even the Department of Employment Services. They've cut back so much of their funding. They used to be the most funded agency, and we got to come together and start standing up for what we need, and not just for us, but for this young generation, because look what's going on in our society. A lot of violence is taking place. There's no leaders. You know what I'm saying? I left my son. He was 2, came home was 25. It's a blessing that he didn't get caught up in some things that he could have got caught up in. But at the end of the day, we got to start standing up and speaking out and let our voices be heard, to let them know that, listen, we can put you in office and we can get you out of office. But a lot of times, we don't take that stand. 2 things that I'm pushing for right now is for us to get our constitutional rights back, where we can be law-abiding citizens entirely. We can't go and get certain things. DC, the mayor has blessed us. Our mayor has put a lot of programs out. We got the most programs in DC for returning citizens. I just found out 3 days ago that MOCA provides up to 70% of individuals that has been incarcerated that has ticket violations. So a lot of things that we don't know, we gotta ask, we gotta be in the place, and we gotta come together. So the 2 things that I'm pushing for us is pushing the president to give a lot of us pardons. If you look at the statistics, we at the low of the total of individuals that has got pardons. Second, I'll put legislators in office to get our constitutional rights back as a citizen. Right now, if any of us fall had a job that we could get in Canada or Australia, just naming those two places, we can't go there. We gotta get permission or get approved. Here it is, we all taxpayers, all of us working there. You get what I'm saying? So why we can't have our rights back?
While we're in this room full of advocates, I would like to ask all of you, what would you like to see happen to move the needle forward? What are things that we can do or take away from your experience to continue to navigate through this space and push the envelope for second chance hires?
What?
What message would you leave us with today? For those of us, obviously, who haven't had your experience, when it comes to second chance hires and people reentering the workspace, what would you want us to advocate for on behalf of second chance
I'll start off.
Yeah, please.
citizens?
I think if we can get more of us to come together and actually get our voices heard, we can accomplish whatever we want. We just have to get our people to get in a place and stand up for what's right. That's just like voting. A lot of our people don't come out. I must use a prime example. In Ward 8, I think Ward 8, they had like 3,500 voters to get in office, and hey, look how many people may be over there. So we gotta get our people out and get focused and some structure of what we need to do to get things done. It's just that simple.
I know for me, let me say this. I ain't gonna say we kind of like bum rush, but we kind of like bum rush Matthew Graves. He had an ANC meet with some people someone told us about. So we went there because we got a notice that he was trying to correlate the YRA and the IRA with the violence that's going on right now. So I think one of the things that we can advocate for is you have multiple guys from IRA and the YRA who's out in the community doing all the things that this community needs. So if anything, we could always showcase those guys and what they're doing just to debunk all the things that the U.S. Attorney is trying to do right now. Like I told him, the YRA and IRA Washington, D.C. bill, why are you so concerned with these bills? There's nothing that he can say. There's no way that he could correlate those two together. But he's going to try, and one thing I know is he goes to these little meetings to push his narrative. So one of the things that we can advocate for is the IRA, the second look, the YRA, and showcase some of the guys that's out here doing the work, working in the community, working with these same youth who are committing these crimes, going to New Beginners, YSC, DC jail, going to different facilities all over the United States like Mr. Weaver and Remo be doing. So that's one of the things that I prefer for all of us to advocate for, because we will be in for a fight for the next couple of months, for the simple fact we got a city that's kind of like transforming within the city council and kind of like trying to fall into line with all the rest of the United States right now on this tough on crime. So I think we need to advocate for the next couple of months about IRA and YI.
And I kind of agree with P too, but there's an ancient African proverb said, if you want to go fast in life, go alone. If you want to go far in life, go together. And I think that, but I think that I would like people to advocate to Mr. Weinstock's point is to have more community investment in our prisons. You know what I'm saying? Because that's where all the untapped potential is. One reason why I love YME and I love Pete, because he the one got me in there, despite my cell phone charges and all this other stuff, They always advocate I'm an excellent mentor for the young guys. And one of the things that was unique about that, we had the collaboration with Quincy Booth, who was director at the time, and Dr. Amy Lopez, who was director of education, that he allowed us, the incarcerated population, to come to the table and ask us, what type of program would you have liked to have when you was 18? You know what I'm saying?
And what's the answer?
Huh?
What's the answer?
financial literacy, digital literacy, you know, civic engagement. You know, these are the type of things where you be we don't want equality, we want equity.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We want a position to be, we are stakeholders. So you have to remind, see, and I agree, a lot of, I believe, for me personally, that, you know, a skill set is very important for successful reentry, but it's only 25% of your reentry success. I think 75% lies in your mindset. You know what I'm saying? So when you understand that you're not, you teach these guys, you're not like your father that people was torturing. You're not an inmate. You know what I'm saying? You are a citizen. You know what I'm saying? Like you are an entrepreneur like people. So when people like Paul comes in, and I seen it, like I seen city councils come in, I seen people from Arnold Ventures come in, you know, millionaires come in, celebrities come into the unit to remind these people that, yeah, you may be separated from the community, but you're not excluded from the community. You are a stakeholder in the community. So when you have that mindset, you come out there not just being, I'm big, not just being a consumer of, you know, mass consumption of whatever product. You're in a position to be a contributor. So I ask you all to advocate for more community inclusion in the prisons. You know, and that's right.
I'll say working collectively is probably the single most important thing to moving the needle in second chance hiring, prison reform, citizen reform, or any other thing that we all are fighting for. The Second Chance Hiring Alliance, to me, what makes it unique and a coalition that could possibly be that needle mover is because we work collectively. We are a coalition. We have the DOESs, we have the CSOSs, we have the DC Central Kitchen. By the way, those crab cakes were phenomenal.
The other one.
And so we work together. And by working together, then what we can do then? We can levy each other's resources. We can lean into each other for things that we may not know. Like everybody brings something unique to the table. We have core group members who work directly with returning citizens every day. But not everybody in the core group work directly with returning citizens every day. So if we have any questions, any concerns, or any type of things that we may need to, ask about, we have people in place. We're working together. Typically, we work in silos, and I understand why a lot of nonprofit organizations work in silos, because we're nonprofit organizations. We look for funding and grants and stuff, and we want it. We don't want you to get it, and so we don't see all of that stuff happening behind the curtain. And so it turns out that I can't help you a little bit, because by helping you, I'm kind of hurting myself. If we can get out of that mindset and understand that the bigger picture, the bigger cause isn't to help me hurt you, whatever, it's to help others, then we can actually move the needle. We can actually get the DC Council members to be more so on our side, and opposed to always trying to throw us under the bus or use us as scapegoats every time if there is an uptick in violence. So in order to do that though, because everybody in this room knows somebody else, right? And that's what the collaborative work looks like. Like, tap that person that you know that I may not know and introduce me to them, and I'll do the same thing. I mean, that's just like the broader way I'm trying to explain it to you, but more on a professional way is to utilize your resources. Don't look at your colleagues or your counterparts as counterparts. Look at them as your partners. And so, and with Mr. Colie, like the way that he has come here today, this is a collaborative moment. I hope and pray that Mr. Weinstock's, all of your will be members of the Second Chance Hiring Alliance. And then we can, again, levy each other's resources to move the needle in which that we're trying to do. So I think that that's probably the biggest thing, is to work together, like, and champion for all of the other things, advocate for all of the other, when I say all of the other things, I mean everything that these gentlemen just spoke on, but at the same time, understand that let's do it together and not separately. So I think that's the biggest thing in terms of moving the needle.
Do we have any questions in the audience? I think we might have time for maybe one or two. Please, when they're ready, Blazer.
I don't
Hi, Keisha.
I just want to say, each of you look so beautiful, so beautiful.
Hang on one second, we're gonna mic you up.
Hold on, before she starts, let's give her a round of applause, because she wrote the DC Navigator.
Thank you for that. I wrote it because of this vision. When you talk about collective action, I think a lot about collective consciousness. I know a lot of you are readers, familiar with Eckhart Tolle, others of the like. You all being home have raised the collective consciousness of the District of Columbia more than any advocate in this room could ever do. I see each of you, and I see Black joy, Black beautiful men. I see love, I see brotherhood, I see family. I was driven because of family that was incarcerated, and it breaks everyone. It breaks the Black community. It breaks hearts. And what I see is a healing, a collective healing, because each of you are up there and you're leaders. You're leaders in the city, and you're leading from the front in your own lives. You all look GQ, Gucci down to the socks. So anyway, I just want to say I love each and every one of you, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the one that
I think we have one more comment, question.
Oh, hey guys. First and foremost, appreciate y'all, man. Just thank y'all for y'all. I got anxiety, so I gotta read. Thank you for your transparency, your vulnerability, your leadership, your action. To take this life or your life, what's happened to you, and be a vehicle for others while getting yourself back on the road, so to speak, taking care of your family, gaining skills, jobs, living, like all those things. You guys have like what our community needs, man. And so I think it's time to rally around y'all and really do what y'all saying, like really build this thing out. My question for y'all is, what keeps us in a job, right? So when we think about those soft skills, I'm thinking about social emotional supports, right? But also how we are able to communicate those things and what employers and things can build out and install, right, to kind of facilitate them understanding what we need when we can't necessarily put those words together. Also, and my second piece of that question is like, what supports do you as employers, incredible messengers and leaders and mentors need? A lot of times in these spaces, we got trauma too, right? And sometimes that would cause friction, right, or our capacity, but we need y'all in the fight still, right? So what do y'all do to fill y'all cup up? My last thing is just a thought to maybe contribute to that, and I had a pleasure meeting Shaka the other day at a Free Her rally, and we discussed maybe like the idea of having a restorative circle, right, as a program, right? So when you have a youth coming out of DUIs or something like that, you have an agreement with that employer, right, that it should something happen or they don't come to work and they don't just text you, you're not firing them, right, and kind of repeating that whole cycle. You have the opportunity to go to have an agreement, and it's written in the contract, right, to have a restorative circle and what that could do largely for the community. So anyway, sorry that was loaded, but appreciate y'all. I got some questions for y'all and a thought.
I know there were a few questions in there, but I do like the notion of hearing, how do you guys restore your energy and keep yourselves positive and motivated? That's a component, I think, of that question.
More like for me, my drive and helping other people and my dedication. And I use my dad and my mom for motivation, which I've lost both of my parents. And I dedicated that to them, that when I came out and I would make that change. So I continue to do it. My wonderful man, Mary Bowser, just to name a few, Kenyon, Duffy, Trayon, Nadeau, has gave me opportunities. So I want to give others opportunities and help as many people as I possibly can.
I got charge myself, like you see on the film, I don't have a biological brother. This is my brother right here. You know what I'm saying? And I got like 30 other brothers. We have a community, and it's like each one be, Our victory is their victory, and their victory is their victory for the men and women that's still inside. You know, so that, you know, when I'm having, it's an old saying, like, I can never have a bad day, because my worst day out here is better than my best day in it. You know what I'm saying? So, and, you know, just out here, like, I had life without parole, like, everything that's happening, like I said earlier, everything that's happening was never meant to be. You know, I actually told parole, man, you're not gonna give me parole. You know, but that was the main, and also, I just like, quick caveat, even though I got denied, on the screen, I just had the DC Court of Appeals ruled in my favor last week that the judge was wrong, abuse of discretion.
My self-care is basically like, I love going down to New Beginnings and working with my youth. Because the thing, you know, and it's kind of bad because I know society places upon them, they're devils, all these things, but they forget that they're kids.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing about it. And as a person who don't have any kids, I love going down there, sitting down, talking with them, you know. I'm not saying it's going to be easy for a lot of them because they're caught up in what I call a hamster wheel where it's so hard for them to get off. But I just think sometimes society needs to sit down and talk with them, and not talk at them. So that's what I love to do. That's how I get myself here, go down there and laugh and joke with them.
Yeah.
For me, as far as my motivation, I'll keep it simple. I'm still trying to change my conditions. I'm not done. So every day I get up, I still have things that I want to do, and until I do it, I ain't got time to be doing a whole lot of other stuff. So that's pretty much my motivation.
Amen.
But not, when I say conditions, I'm not just meaning out here. I'm still talking about the conditions in it too.
Yeah.
Because I left a lot of people back there.
Yeah.
Right? We get calls, I'm sure all of us, we get calls daily from guys incarcerated asking us about this question, asking about this law, asking us about stuff we probably don't even know. Because one thing about being in there, you be on top of everything.
Yes.
So it's like, what? I ain't even heard about that deal. So I know that it's a lot of responsibility on me. When it's no sense of me being incarcerated and I'm sitting in the cell with my cellie and I'm saying, I got to change my conditions. I got to change my conditions. I got to get out of here to do this and do this, and then get out here and then don't do it.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm still connected to that. You know, I'm still connected to that. But as far as, you know, my woosah that I like to say, it's three people who keeps me centered in that way. My daughter.
I knew she was number one.
My sister.
Spoiler alert.
And my girlfriend, who I, for the first time, went to Disney World with to get some R&R, and I well-deserved, received. I had fun, and for a moment, I can be at Magic Kingdom and be in that, and not worry about all of the stuff that's going on back in D.C., and get rejuvenated, and then come back, and then put the gloves on and fight again. But that's pretty much what my that's my woosah.
Support team. Well, you all deserve that and more. Thank you so much. It's been a very powerful evening. I think I speak for everybody when I say the movie was fantastic, but your life stories are even more amazing than that. So it's a real pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for being here.
We'll let Deborah pass you, but thank y'all. And we had one wonderful question, so I know we're late at night. If people want to stay and chat for a couple minutes, we can do that, but because what a joyful, creative evening. We didn't even get to tackle the pragmatics of the great suggestions, but yeah. Deborah.
I will be quick. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for moderating, Aisha. It was really moving and powerful. Thank you to all of our co-sponsors, to the Second Chance Hiring Alliance, and to CCE for having us here tonight.
That was fantastic. That was so, actually, you too. Really memorable.